Hi friends, welcome to Quilting on Caffeine episode I don't know what. And welcome to the year 2023. Happy New Year. I'm Christine. I'm a modern maker and it is my mission in life to inspire others to craft, to create, to make. I attempt to find mindfulness in my days by making, mostly through quilting, knitting, and whatever else crosses my path that I can make, let's be honest. So welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. We're going to do things a little differently this year. So first of all, stay tuned till the end or just skip ahead to the end for a little switch up that I'm going to do this year. But I'm also going to start organizing these vlogs into sections and then putting their run times down below. So if you're only here for the quilting, then you skip to that part. If you're only here for the knitting, whatever. If you're here for all of it, welcome. So we're going to start with coffee chat, which is just kind of miscellaneous, silly stuff, life catch up. And then we'll move on to crafty stuff. And part of the reason I'm doing that is because my channel is Quilting on Caffeine, but I feel like I do a lot of making of other sorts, which will be evidenced when we get to my finished objects. And I wanted to pay homage to that. That's also a teaser for what's to come. So let's get this started. Welcome to Quilting on Caffeine in the new year 2023. Happy New Year, everybody. I hope you had a wonderful holiday season. I am kind of getting off to a slow start this year, partially because I was just exhausted from the end of last year and traveling between Christmas and New Year's, and then everybody came home and came down with this cold that just seems to be never ending. Yada, yada, yada. It's a slow roll. I'm okay with it. The past few years, I feel like we've charged into the new year just to be disappointed. So this might be a good change of pace for me. It is Friday, January 20th. I almost said July, January 20th, 2023. And it is currently snowing outside, which I wasn't expecting right now. So one of my topics to touch upon was the fact that I'm waiting for some snow. And here it comes. We're not supposed to get any accumulation, just some flurries, but I'll take some winter-like weather. It's been a weird winter. It's been a very warm winter here in Rhode Island, so I don't know why that is. The last time you saw me, it was right after Vlogmas. Vlogmas was not very successful for me this year. And I'm not saying that to look for pity or support or anything like that. It's just a statement of fact. And I think that was because there was a few factors, but I think the weather was one of them. It was very warm and just didn't feel seasonally appropriate. My kids are ridiculously obligated this year. And I didn't realize how much time they took, but I feel like it just kind of rolled into like other areas of my life. Like last year I was here a lot more often. They had no activities because we were still waiting for the second one to be fully vaccinated. So it's just a very different vibe. So some good thoughts for next year, Vlogmas wise, and also just maybe I shift my holiday making earlier in the year. All things to think about. Anyway, so Vlogmas wasn't super successful, and I do blame a lot of that on running kids around a lot more than I've ever had to run kids around, and the weather. So it's snowing. Let's appreciate that. You might have noticed in the beginning that I also upgraded my coffee maker to an Instapot that fits both the original Nespresso espresso pods and Keurig cups or K-cups. So I'm drinking a Dunkin' coffee this morning, which is appropriate given that I'm in New England, but ironic because part of the big reason I'm drinking a Dunkin' coffee from a K-cup and not from down the street is because my Dunkin' switched hands and it's now awful. You have one job, Dunkin'. Make good coffee. So they're not making good coffee, but I've got good coffee. It's all good. I was gonna talk about New Year, new goals. I was gonna be some kind of snarky about it, kind of like everybody says they want to lose weight and I'm gonna lose WIP weight this year. And then I decided like I didn't want to actually be snarky because one of my goals is actually to lose some, like to finish up these works in progress that are overwhelming me. And some of them still bring me a lot of joy, but they're just getting shoved aside for whatever reason, and that's like not a good brain game for me. So I'm focusing on the WIPs. I have a ton of WIPs that should also help not spend money, or at least watch what I bring in a little bit more carefully. Because as you can see behind me, I've got a bunch of fabric, and I have fabrics and yarn pretty much stashed wherever I can stash fabric and yarn. And when I was decorating for the holidays, that really became apparent that it's everywhere. So I have plenty of materials to work with. I'm not going to put the pressure on myself to buy nothing, because that is just knowing that I'm not supposed to be buying things makes me want to buy things. But I'm going to be more intentional about seeing through the commitments I made already and finishing up projects that have already been started. No reason to not do those things. And I have some other goals, some other ideas for the year. But like I said, I'm kind of slow rolling into this year, so we're just gonna see how it comes to fruition. I had a lot of really big goals last year, and then unforeseen family and life things happened, and I'd rather look back at this year at the end of the year and be like, oh, I really did. What's the word? Like at the end of last year, I kind of was like, well, none of these got done. Whereas I'd kind of like to say, look at what I built, look at what I curated, look at what I formed. So it's worrying me back there, but I'm not rushing into this year. So let's take a sip of coffee and then we can move on to finished objects. I feel like I blew through that coffee chat really quickly, and I'm probably missing some things, but I don't know what they are. Anyway, maybe it'll come to me as we go through these. So finished objects, all of them are knitting related, which is ironic. Actually, no, I take that back. All of my WIPs are knitting related because I spent so much time not in the house recently, between kids stuff that was going on, holiday stuff that was going on, and then traveling for the holidays. And yes, we've been back for a couple of weeks now, but it's been like either I've got a sore throat or my husband has a sore throat or the kid's homesick. Like it's never been time for me to be in here and in the right mental space to be in here. It's much easier to honestly lie on the couch and knit. And it would be a different story if I'd actually finished bindings to start binding off some of my quilts, but I didn't. I guess it's not their time to be finished. So if you watched Vlogmas, you might have remembered that I made a slew of new stockings this year. And I am trying very hard not to do 5 more stockings, but maybe I will, who knows? You might remember this yarn from one of my stockings. I decided that rather than have just a little bit of yarn sit around, I'm saying a lot. Rather than just having a little bit of yarn sit around, I was gonna knit one big square, half and half, fold it, and then just seam it together at the bottom here. It's not the most beautiful thing ever, but I'm going to grab a little pillow insert. I'm gonna make a little pillow insert because I think I just did like whatever felt good to me. I'm gonna just whip up a little cotton sleeve because this is not gonna hold in. It's very, like, that's my finger right through. It's not gonna hold in fiberfill or polyfill. So I'll make like a quick muslin to size, stuff that, and then stuff it in the end here. Sew it up. Use these big honking needles. And that was something I did, like, I think New Year's Day, maybe? I don't know, I slept a lot on New Year's Day too, who knows? Anyway, it was done after the holidays and I just wanted to use up some yarn that I knew I didn't have enough for a substantial project for. So this will get packed in with the holiday stuff and it will sit underneath the stockings next year. And maybe I'll make some other pillows with some of my other scraps. Who knows? The world is my oyster. And then you might remember from a few podcasts ago that I had the Hocus Pocus yarn from Freckled Whimsy. Black Flame Candled was the colorway that I had. It was a limited edition and I had made myself a hat with it and I was like, this is perfect. Well, in an effort to destash, I grabbed the remainder of that yarn as well as a unknown yarn to me. I don't even know. It was in my bin of remnants, but I felt like that was a good complementary color. It's kind of a greenish, grayish taupe. And I whipped up an Patterns on Ravelry. It's Ida's Kitchen little beanie. Kind of cute. Sorry, I can't do like try-ons while I'm looking at the camera. Yeah, so all of my yarn is used up. I'm going to put this aside because I think I'm either going to gift it or I don't know. Maybe I'll destash sale over the summer. Who knows? But that felt good. That was like a quick weekend project I did. I definitely did that while I was recuperating from traveling. We had a couple of like gray, this weather has been super gray, not super seasonally gray, just gray and rainy and gross. But I think I sat on the couch for a couple of afternoons of movie watching and did that. Okay, we're gonna add in a little section at the end that I just thought about. So that is my second finished object. I guess it's really my first. I don't know that I count the pillow as a finished object. I'm taking my third and most exciting finished object off my feet. Okay. Retaking this portion because I wasn't happy with my enthusiasm level because I'm really very excited for these. These are my Advent socks. So they are the Everyday DK sock pattern. I totally forgot the designer's name. Sorry about that, but Google Everyday DK sock pattern and you will find this little thing. It's a vanilla sock, but it felt more comfortable to me using a vanilla sock DK pattern than a vanilla sock fingering weight pattern that I was knitting. I don't know. First socks, people, first socks. Let's go with what we win. The yarn is by Freckled Whimsy. It is her Advent 2022 skein, and I believe that she called it Candy Shop. I'm obsessed. Okay, so I got the contrast skein, and I only ended up using it for the cuff because I got really nervous for whatever reason that if I used it on one heel, I wasn't gonna have enough for another. This was a learning project. So here are my two regrets, is that I didn't use this on the heel and I probably had enough to use it on the heel. My other second regret is that in the end, because it's knit from top down, I don't actually have all 24 stripes represented in here. I only have 9, 10, 11, 12, There are actually 24 stripes in here, but I still have more yarn on the ball. How does that work? Anyway, I wish I had yarn left is basically where my problem lies with it, in all honesty. So I wish I had done another couple of stripes, but going into this I didn't know, and I was afraid of running out of yarn. That is the theme of these socks. Fear of running out. So I actually used a DK from my stash that was the right fiber mix and fit with the palette as close as I could. I have a lot of this. I don't actually remember what I originally used it for, but I have a lot left, which means I must have misbought originally. So I felt comfortable using it for my heels because no matter what happened, even if I had to like get rid of whatever yarn I knit on, I could still come back from it. I ripped out the original heels and reknit them because the heel flap looked different between this one, and I had originally knit it in the striped yarn, and in hindsight I would not have gotten through all the stripes if I had done that. I would not have had yarn to get all the way to the toe is what I meant with that. But look at these. I cast these off on New Year's Eve. And I thought that was so apropos. Like, they were not done for Christmas. I do need to block them, because you can see where my circular needle seam is here. But I think that once I wet block them, it will be fine. I did not have them finished for Christmas, but I did have them finished to wear on New Year's Eve as I sat on my couch. And I felt like that was so appropriate. My first pair of complete, I have knit one sock, but my first pair of socks done. They're so comfortable. Now I understand what everybody means when they say once you have hand knit socks you never want anything else. Not to say that I'm gonna knit all my socks because that's crazy, but I do want to get another DK weight from Freckles Whimsy because I think the self-striping makes it fun to go through, and just, it was not the quickest thing I've ever knit up, but it was, well, it was my first pair and I ripped it back and, you know, whatever. But it was an enjoyable, like, it's like having a Hershey Kiss after dinner. It's a little bite-sized sweet every day. So there you have it. Okay, now I'm gonna go back to where I left off. Sorry, the need for coffee is strong. Okay, so unfortunately, like I said, I don't have any quilting finished objects, but not feeling sad about that. Wasn't meant to be. This is really where the whips come into play. I won't divulge how many I have because it's embarrassing. And I don't actually know. I just know that it's like well beyond my comfort level at this point. And while I'm okay with projects having a time and a space, but some of them are not like filling me up creatively. And I think that that's part of the journey I'm realizing to recognize and respect a little bit more, is that if it's not feeding me in some way, if it's not fulfilling creative process or giving me joy besides just saying I did this, there are other ways to see it through. That didn't make much sense. Hopefully it makes more sense when it comes out of my mouth, but in my head. Anyway, so there's a lot of whips. That's where I'm going with this. So that's gonna be the focus of my coming month. So for my whips in Knitting World, I have one whip that I'm working on right now. Not because I only have one whip, it's just this is the one I'm gonna see through to the end. It is the Rouleed scarf. I forget who it's by. Again, we can search it. I'll be better about this in the future. And it is made with Camarose tinned. And I think I stopped about here. many years ago. Like I think it was 2019 that I last touched this scarf, so a while. So I picked it back up and I have been working on this and I'm in the home stretch. So this is halfway through the gray, which is what I bind off on. So this is my focus. This is my one WIP that I am focusing on. Not to say there aren't others. And then I do have a little gift that I need to finish up. That's also hiding in that little basket. My goal is to, and I don't see why this can't happen, methodically work through all the stashed WIPs I have in like the main areas of the house. Zippered bags are really good for me to segregate my WIPs, but I'm also finding that they're really good to just like slide into a drawer or hide behind a cabinet or a stack of books. And I think I'll go back to them when I'm looking for something to keep my hands busy, but I don't. So everything's going to live in this upcycled basket for my kids' room. Because I can grab it and go when I need to go, because it's still gonna have more time to be knitting with the amount of time I sit at the rink than sewing. I mean, that's the cycle of life I'm in. Okay, and it's fine. Moving on. The WIPs I'm focusing on for quilting. These are more, so this is partially like things I need to finish up for. One of them's a quilt for my child that he requested. And then I'm not even sure why. I mean, I put them away for a reason, not a creative block reason. I think it was like we had something going on, or I had to clean the house or the studio, like, or I was moving something in the studio. So I don't think that it's any of these projects are really because I lost my sojo on them. I think that I put them away for a reason, and then I lost my sojo over the holidays, and I'm not sure it's back. But I think that by working on some of these projects, that might get me back into the swing of things. So the first one that I'm working on is the Golden Hour quilts. And this is by Cotton and Joy Patterns. Bought it last May. Immediately got distracted by a squirrel in the form of the popsicle quilt that I finished during Vlogmas this year. So the popsicle quilt top has been hung up, waiting to be long-armed. I mean, we're talking like I bought the fabric for the Golden Hour quilt, came home, saw the pattern get dropped for the popsicle quilts. That's not what it's called, but I can't remember the name right now. Went back to the store and bought fabric for that. I mean, I remember it was like the first weekend of May or something. It was just, I don't know. I was just craving something that the popsicle quilt filled up in me that this didn't. But it's a WIP. It's got all the pieces cut except for the background fabric. So I feel like that might be a quick win. The other quilt is for my son, and I will share more of that next time. It's Little Ducks. The Little Ducklings line, I think. It's soft and sweet, and you'll see where I'm going. Not what I was thinking I would want. And it's actually a great leader ender project for other blocks that I was working on, but those all got finished and then that kind of got swept aside. So, okay, I'll be right back. Okay, and the last WIP that I'm going to focus on is the Front Porch Quilt by Shannon Brinkley. Oh, here we do. Love flying geese. I don't know, I think that might be one of my favorite blocks. I believe, actually I can tell you exactly where I left off on it. I have 100 more low volume squares to cut out. So let's be realistic in saying that this won't get sewn. Let's be realistic, and that's not my goal. But I have a bunch of squares cut out. And I think I think the reason that this kind of stopped where it did was that let me rephrase that. This is my palette for this. I'm 95% sure that I cut out the majority of these. If not all of these, I have to count again. And I think I ran out of low volume fabrics for the backgrounds, for the non-geese part. So I need to go back through, count everything up, and then continue. So my goal is really just to finish the cutting for this month. Because again, this will be another project that I can do leaders and enders types of stuff on, because I have other commitments that I've made. I seem overly committed in the quilting world, and it actually doesn't feel that way at all. It feels like I don't have enough to challenge me. But I have like all of these fabrics still in here, and I'm not sure if it's because I still need these fabrics. Like, I'm not sure why I have them, so I need to figure, I think that if I figure that out and just say it's cut and ready to sew, that would be great. My goal is to get, I have so many of these boxes. I'm just gonna, that's how I decided on that one. I grabbed it off the shelf and I'm like, this is what I'm working on. So we'll see. My goal is to get through 12 of those boxes in the next 12 months, so each month is going to be a surprise as to what I'm working on, and that's awesome. Because I have signed up for a quilt along starting in March, which is the Barn Star sampler quilt. I said I was absolutely not going to do it, and then a local quilt shop is actually running a quilt along for that. And I think, oh, maybe having some in-person accountability would be helpful. So on one hand, I joined another quilt along, but on the other hand, I don't know, I'm kind of like, I saw it, it's by Cora's Quilts. I saw it way back when she first announced it. I was like, oh, I think I need to do this. Talked myself out of it. There's a problem with Martingale Press, and like, I think they're closed. So there's been a lot of discussion about like how her books are being produced now. So it's always been like flittering out there in the periphery, and every time I'm kind of like, ooh, and I knock myself back. And then when I saw that the quilt shop was going to do it, I was like, you know what, like, it's a sign, just do it. And it starts in March, and it will, like, the timing will finish around fall, so I think the palette I'm going with and the fabrics I'm going with are kind of like those comfy, cozy fabrics. So that'll be good. And then a different local quilt shop announced that they were going to do a winter quilt challenge, and they did the summer quilt challenge, and I really loved that one. Sorry, can't reach. And because I was like, not like, Vlogmas and my Sojo just did not like meld this year, and life has kept me from sewing, so I was kind of like, oh, I can't really like commit to like a challenge, but I want to do the challenge. There's prizes. I mean, who doesn't love a prize for quilting? It's like a win-win. And then I was cleaning up my studio the other day in an effort to vlog and came across this oldie but goodie. It is the Atomic Starburst. It is by Violet Craft. I thought it was. So it is paper pieced. Foundation paper piece, but still. I hope so, at least. Yeah, no. Just was that art check. I want to be better at foundation paper piecing, so I'm committed to this. The challenge for the winter quilt is stars. As long as it has stars in it, in the piecing, not necessarily in your fabric choices, in the piecing, it counts. And I thought, oh, how fun is that? I mean, now looking at it, I'm kind of like, oh, that doesn't look fun at all. I've had this pattern forever. I keep coming back to it. I keep wanting to make it. And I went in, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to start picking fabrics that just feel right to me in this moment and that like make me happy. And I think I've dictated too many of my fabrics around the feeling of needing to be modern to, I don't know. I just felt very pigeonholed at in the summer last year, and I was dealing with some, deaths in the family and deaths in my friend group, and it was just a sad time. And then I think that my overcorrection is to be looking at fabrics. So I am using this coral. I hope you can see the texture. I don't remember the name, but it's an Elizabeth Hartman fabric, I think. Oh, now I'm questioning even that. Anyway, it's a beautiful coral. It's not a smooth cotton. Let's go with that. And then here is my fabric pull for that so far. I don't know what to say except that I'm really I love pinks and oranges, let's be real, but bringing in some plum colors. And these will be my diamonds. And then my stars I'm gonna use solids for. This is only 2 of my solids because I know that I just need to go into my solids bin and I'll find complementary solids for all of these that work. That's a lot of projects. So that's not considered a WIP. It's just a goal project. And I'm gonna make myself do a WIP before, a work in progress quilt, before I touch that. So that will be good motivation. I can kind of just set it aside and look at it and be like, ooh, I wanna do that. I wanna work on that. And that will power me through some of this other stuff I have. Okay. Other news. So we've covered very quickly, I feel like, finished objects, knitting whips, or knitting whip, I should say. No, there's 2. Whips. No quilting finished objects, quilting whips, and quilting goals. I would love to be able to... Dogs. Training my dog should also be a goal. Okay, so in the future this will be up in Coffee Chat, but some of the other vloggers I watch do it, and I'm just like, I just love this portion of their little vlogs. I'm gonna do it too. Okay, so let's start with reading. During Vlogmas, the book I read every night to kind of wind down, end the day on a peaceful, calm note. And during Vlogmas, I was reading one of those, I don't know what it's called. It's a larger series but this is like their Christmas edition book. And it was called The Quilting House. How appropriate. And it was their Christmas. I think it's like the Hickory Grove series. So it's not all about quilting, it's about like a small town environment. But The Quilting House was her Christmas book, and I felt like that was, and it was on sale for like 99 cents. So, but The Quilting House by Elizabeth Bromke, I think is her name. So that was what I read over December. When we were traveling, I dipped into Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie, I can't read my handwriting, Bonnie Garmis, maybe? I don't know, Lessons in Chemistry. It was the New York Times bestseller. Everybody was talking about it. I felt like in my non-quilty circle, like in my mom circles or basically in my mom circles. It was cute. It was like I don't like the word chicklet. It's a modern fiction book. Quick, easy to digest, great premise, combines chemistry and cooking. It was entertaining. And then I finished that in just a few days and then moved on to Sewing Suspicion by Catherine Mike. Yeah, I think it's Mykel. Mykel. And it is a cozy mystery book. I'm behind on like the Louise Penny cozy mysteries, and I wanted something, I don't know, well, it's got quilting in the title, so let's be realistic about why that ended up on my Kindle. It was a fun read, a quick read. I like it when my cozy mysteries are not so, like, I knew pretty early on who done it, and I don't love that. But this was the first one in like a series, so I'm gonna see through a couple more books and see if I still enjoy her. See if it kind of fills the cozy mystery thing without being quite the commitment that Louise Penny is for me. And it's all at my library, so it makes it pretty easy to rent, borrow, loan. I don't even know what you call it anymore. So yeah, and now I just wrapped up that last one, and I downloaded a book about the Vanderbilts, but I can't remember the name, so we'll share that next time. Okay, and then what I'm watching. So we indulged in HBO streaming for The White Lotus. I didn't actually watch it, my husband was into it, but all of my binges have been on HBO right now, and I don't know if it's because we just were like, we'll just do it for a couple months, so I feel like the pressure to watch everything I possibly can, or if it's just like it's probably because that's where I'm at. So the first two are very opposite ends of the spectrum. I watched in one weekend, probably closer to one day, The Gilded Age. It has Cynthia Nixon, Christine Baranski, who I love, other names that you would recognize, and it's about the Gilded Age, which is perhaps my favorite historical era to entertain with. It's by Julian Fellows, who did Downton Abbey, so that gives you kind of the tone of it, but it's like a decadent dessert, those types of shows. It's a decadent dessert that I like to obviously binge, but I watched that while I was working on, The Roulade Scarf, so it was like perfect. Mindless knitting, yummy TV to watch, it was good. I enjoyed it. And then the other HBO show on the other end of the spectrum is I just watched the first episode of The Last of Us, and dystopian series. So, Gilded Age to dystopian. That's gonna be a problem. I hope they release their next episode on a night that I don't have anything, because I can't be at the rink until 10:30 at night and then come home and watch an hour-long show. So highly recommend The Gilded Age if you can find it. I spoke long enough that I ran out of a battery charge, so clearly this is going to be a longer vlog than normal for me. And I left off with dystopian. I don't know where I left off. The 2 HBO shows, and then when I'm binge watching, when I really need mindless stuff. And when I say that, I mean like, because I'm focusing on like cutting fabric squares the right sizes, is The Big Bang Theory. I would grab it here and there when it was in, like, on TV, whatever that's called, syndication. No. Like when new episodes are coming out, not when I was able to watch a whole 12 seasons or whatever it is, you know, in 1 month. So Big Bang Theory is my other one. Always funny. There's a science theme to my choices. Big Bang Theory and Lessons in Chemistry, which are both like sciencey but not really. They're light science. Perfect blend. So anyway, that is what I've been watching and reading. And then we're gonna end on a high note. I just got really quiet there. I do not know what happened. Hold on a second, guys. Sorry. And the last thing that I'll share with you today, sorry, this was a long one, guys. The last thing that I want to share with you, I am so excited about. As we know, I've struggled to be here. I didn't feel like Vlogmas was super, like, there was something that was pulling at me during Vlogmas that I wasn't quite sure. And just again and again, I've been really focusing on where I want to go this coming year. And it comes down to the fact that at my core, I'm a maker. I'm a modern maker. I do enjoy dabbling in more traditional makes as well. But my heart and my passion is kind of in modern making. But it's not necessarily only in quilting or only in knitting. Sometimes it's embroidery, sometimes it's Christmas ornaments, sometimes it's wherever my mood takes me. So I am keeping this channel, but I have also established another channel called the Modern Maker Studio, and I'm going to drop in that little intro blurb here and a link below. I don't know where this Modern Maker Studio is going. I have thoughts, I have ideas, I have little things, but I'm going to let it evolve naturally. But I will be posting over there moving forward. I can't keep up one YouTube channel, so I don't think I'm going to keep up 2. I might do some cross posts so that it's infiltrating both channels, but I'm not that popular that I'm afraid of just popping over there. So I'm also on Instagram as modern.maker.studio, and I'm going to start posting on TikTok under the same handle. It feels so good. I think that when I started quilting on Caffeine, I was really, truly just about the quilting, and with the way life and family and myself personally have evolved over the past couple of years, this feels really good, and inspiring other people to try new making avenues just feels really right for me. I am especially focused on I find a lot of mindfulness through making. Like, making things is so good for my mental and physical health, and I want to help others find that balance and that passion. So it just feels good. It feels right. So Modern Maker Studio. I'm excited. I hope you're excited. And again, it will be broken up into chapters a little bit more tightened up than this was, as things popped into my head while I was vlogging. It's a new year, time to start something new. And we're heading into Lunar New Year weekend. So with that, wishing you all a wonderful new year. Thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks for giving me this was a big one. So thanks for giving me your time, as always. Or if you're new here, thanks for joining me. And I hope you join me over there too. We are gonna do, the plan is to do some things where I share progress on a more regular basis, and video my actual making of some of these things. So you can see it come together in lifetime. You can see me try new things and maybe succeed in new creative outlets, or fail, or decide it's just not for me. It's all good. Creative process is good. It fills me up. So thank you for joining me. Happy New Year. Happy Lunar New Year. I hope that the weather by you is seasonally appropriate and wonderful. I hope you have a lovely, restful, recharging weekend. And I will be back soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.